Newt Gingrich all but saying Mitt Romney's going to be the guy.
Yes, yesterday on TV, Newt Gingrich went out there, and that is probably as close as you're going to see Newt come to saying, Mitt Romney is the guy until, this is mathematically done. He's made it very clear he is not going to drop out before then, but you are seeing sort of a very subdued Newt, and he was speaking in his campaign in the past tense, something we have not seen from him before.
And saying, really blaming this on sort of a fundraising level, saying that his failure to win more states has really been based on Mitt Romney's strong fundraising advantage. He said, I think I hit him as hard as I could, and he hit me as hard as he could. And if you weigh their war chest, Mitt Romney had a lot more oomph behind that hitting. Danny, what about Rick Santorum? Obviously looking toward this Pennsylvania primary. He said it's this or nothing, this or he's got to go. What are his chances?
I mean, even his own staff will acknowledge there are many, many difficulties going forward with him, and just one of them, and perhaps the most notable, the campaign told us yesterday that Rick Santorum at the end of March had just over $1 million in his campaign bank account. Mitt Romney, just to sort of show how much he can do, just spent $3 million on TV ads in Pennsylvania that will run over the next 2 weeks. Rick Santorum is not even in the same sort of league here in that sort of competition. Pennsylvania is a very large, very populous state, and it's a state where you do need TV, especially in the very populated Philadelphia area in the southeast section of the state.
Good point. And Danny, what do the sense you get from both the Newt Gingrich camp and the Rick Santorum camp, do you sense that they will stay in the race until the convention, but maybe just not spend because they're not going to have the war chest to spend? Or do you actually think we could see one of them officially drop out before the convention?
I think we very much could see one of them drop out before the convention. In fact, I would not even be surprised if, Rick Santorum, and again, we are not at this point, I do want to stress, Rick Santorum has given no indication that he is planning to leave the race anytime soon, but I was talking to his chief strategist over the weekend, and he sort of started to use a new tone that we haven't heard from the campaign before. You used to hear these candidates saying, look, I'll drop out when Mitt Romney or someone else gets a majority of the delegates, when this thing is mathematically over. What the campaign told us this weekend is, we will respect it when it becomes very clear that someone else will get a majority eventually. They're not sort of requiring that Mitt Romney gets there. Mm-hmm. And it's a subtle difference, but I think it's important when we're talking about candidates dropping out before this thing is mathematically over. And
yet you see Mitt Romney trying to turn this enormous boat already toward President Obama. Discussion now this morning about serious discussion about who his vice presidential running mate might be. The Journal actually has a very good interactive graphic laying out the pros and cons of some of the potential candidates, looking at possibly Chris Christie, the governor of New Jersey, Governor Bob McDonnell in Virginia. That's a swing state there. What are you hearing on that side? I mean, are any of these candidates sort of surfacing that look like they could be stronger plays for Mitt Romney than others, Danny?
Look, this is sort of Washington's favorite parlor game for every 4 years, and we really don't know anything. And then the campaign has gone to great lengths to say, look, this is way too early to be speculating about this, but we, of course, everyone is going to continue to speculate. A lot of people noted that, Governor Romney seemed to get along very well with Congressman Paul Ryan, the chairman of the House Budget Committee, when he was campaigning in Wisconsin 2 weeks ago. Other names thrown out there include Senator Marco Rubio from Florida, who, is young, can connect with Latino voters, but at the same time has not been tested on any national stage. Virginia Governor Bob McDonnell is another example. He comes from a state that's probably going to be important in the general election, but at the same time, he's very popular with the conservative base, but at the same time, he doesn't bring a whole lot of excitement. Others have suggested, New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, who would certainly bring a lot of excitement, but it's not quite sure that, the Romney campaign wants someone who arguably could upstage the candidate himself.
Right, and obviously Senator Marco Rubio in Florida, he could help with the Latino vote, as could another name that's been thrown around, Susana Martinez. She's New Mexico's governor. The big shift here, of course, being that we're talking about this seriously now at this point at all, who the VP candidate will be, suggesting a real turning of the tide. Danny Yadron, thanks so much for following this in Washington, D.C. More from Danny in the Wall Street Journal and online at WSJ.com.